Last time we discussed about the topographic map. Last time we discussed about the topographic map of Pakistan and various features that are present in different regions of our country. And then we discussed how the satellite image would look like of the country with having different elevations and different topography. And topography, as you know, is very important to identify geomorphological features because some of the features can be deciphered based on the elevation and its shape and geometry. Satellite images, geological maps, and topographic maps are important to understand the geomorphology and hence the geology of the area. Today we will see some of the landforms. Landforms are nothing else than topographic features that are exposed on Earth's surface. Like, for example, if you go from Sargodha to Islamabad on the motorway, you will see a mountain range. We call that mountain range as the Salt Range. And when you pass from there, you see different shapes of Earth and different types of features. So these features actually formed over million of years, and as a result of tectonics and as a result of erosion and weathering and all of these agents they contributed in the formation of these features. These features they can have various shapes and they can have various sizes as well. A landform can range from large scale to small scale features and so on. They also depend on the time scale. Some of the landforms they are developed quickly, just like the sand dunes. जैसे when we were studying the Aeolian landforms, we studied about the dunes, and dunes can be formed over few uh, seconds or few hours or few minutes. However, some features like the mountain range, it can form over million of years. So remember, landforms can range in the sizes. They can also range in time scale. Some can form early and like over shorter time, and some can form over longer periods of time. Some landforms they can be quite simple in the form, or some can be quite complex. They can be result of multiple processes, and they can depend on multiple agents of weathering and erosion. They can be dynamic, like for example, they can grow over time as the weathering happens. The landform can change its shape and can shape its geometry. So they can be dynamic. Some of them they look like on the scale as static. So maybe they are not disturbed by the recent activities. Normally, earth scientists they study these type of geomorphological features to do the decision making. For example, the policies. Like for example, we have the climate change. As you guys know, climate change studies are very much related to geomorphological studies, as they can the Geomorphology can give you important information on how the past climates were and how the future climate will be. The erosion rate is very important, as more erosion means more CO2 in the atmosphere, and as more CO2 in the atmosphere, it means that the temperatures of the planet Earth will increase eventually. And how we can stop erosion? We can stop erosion by planting trees and planting more vegetation. That the erosion rates can be decreased, and if the erosion rates can be decreased, eventually the climate change can be can be saved. So here we have a feature that is a mountain, looks like a table, and they call it as a table mountain in South Carolina. Uh, this feature that looks very simple has a lot of stories of uplift, weathering, and erosion that happen on this, and you can narrate stories related to these landforms once you see them, and then you study how these can be formed, and then there are different isotopic studies that can help you tell how much time this particular feature has been exposed, like कितने million years पहले ये expose हुआ था, कितने million years पहले इसके weathering या erosion जो है वो start हुआ था, या कितने million years पहले area जो है वो uplift था, and now this area is no longer uplift, and so and so on. Okay. Then we have landforms and scale of crustal orders. As we have said that these landforms, they can range in various scales. They can be first order, they can be second order, they can be third order. What does these order mean? These order means that the morphological features can be studied at various scales. If we study them on larger scales, which include the Earth surface, the and ocean basins, like very large scale, in which we just study the features on the global level, and in which we study the coastal areas and the ocean areas, the ocean basins. We call that as the first order of relief. Then we have the second order of relief. In second order of relief, we have features that are regional, but not as regional as the first order. We will see shortly how they look like in the maps and other features. They can include mountain ranges, plateaus, lowlands, Rocky Mountains, Atlantic coastal, Tibetan Plateau. You can also include Himalayan range, Karakoram range, and Hindu Kush range, and the Arabian coastal areas in Pakistan. They can also be the second order of relief. In the ocean part, they can include the continental shelf, slopes, abyssal plain, mid-oceanic ridges. आपको याद होगा हमने mid-oceanic ridges और trenches पढ़ी थी. Then comes the third order of relief. Third order of relief, it includes landforms that are collectively made up and making the second order of relief. These include smaller but still significant, like volcanoes, glaciers, valleys, rivers, lakes, terraces, beaches, and dunes. Similarly, these third order of relief, they can also be composed of various individual features, and they are also made up of various smaller geomorphic features, like floodplains and natural levees, point bars, oxbow lakes, and features so and so on. Here you can see the orders, the first order, the second order, the third order. And in first order, you can see very large scale. We have the continental land masses and ocean basins, like the all the ocean basins and the continents. These are the continental plates. The yellowish and greenish areas and the bluish areas are the oceanic basins. However, if you see this one, you can still see the mid-oceanic ridges. That is the second order. And mountain ranges, the elevated areas, the brownish, yellowish brownish areas. Similarly, interior of Africa, and maybe here we have the mighty Himalayas bordering India, Pakistan, and China. And then the Afghan plateau, you can see. Then here is the Antarctica, and you can also see the relief features there. Similarly, the third order of relief, it includes beaches, rivers, floodplains, and mountains. And you can see that this is much smaller scale than this and this. It is all about different scales of our observation, and each one of these, they have their own applications. And as we said, the first order of relief features are actually made up of the second order relief features, and second order relief features are actually made up of the third order of relief features. Okay. So geomorphology, as we have already been doing for as a subject, but now we are doing it as part of our fieldwork. So we are actually discussing the more practical part of the geomorphology that can be applied to the field, and that can be help us to identify various features. However, you should remember that geomorphology is a science that is concerned with the shape of the earth, and most of the features that we see today are not older than the Pleistocene and Holocene, like the shape of these features, the rivers, courses, and so on. These features are not that old in terms of geological time. Similarly, these features are studied by scientists. We call them as geomorphologists. And these landforms, as I said, they actually provide the balance between hydrological, tectonic, and aeolian and glacial, atmospheric, and marine processes. And as you guys know, we studied before that most of these processes are cyclic in nature. So just like we studied the rock cycle, similarly the hydrological, tectonic, and aeolian, glacial, if you consider it over the geological time, this seems to be repetitive, and this seems to be cyclic in nature. Okay. Uh, why geomorphologists study landforms and what they want to do with these landforms? Like, for example, what is the physical form or shape of the landform? Just to describe. Okay, like for example, the geomorphologist will go to this area and try to describe this landform based on satellite image, based on photographs, based on the geological map, or based on the topographic map. That is just the description. What is the elevation and topographic relief of the landform? Elevation can be seen from the topographic map. It can be seen from the satellite images, aerial photographs. Then comes the more interpretive part. How did the landform actually form? Like, for example, if it was granite body, the geology behind. Until now, we were just discussing the geography or physical features, and now we are digging into the origin of this landform. How did that landform actually originate? How did that landform actually came into? Okay. Is there any distribution? Like, is this landform is present elsewhere? Like कहीं और भी ये landform जो है वो present है या सिर्फ वो landform यहीं पे present है? अगर वो कहीं और भी present है, it means the process was regional. और अगर वो landform कहीं और present नहीं है, it means it is a local activity. It is just concentrated here. और क्या उसके साथ we can associate any pattern? Like वो जो geomorphic feature है, तो जब आप जियोग्राफिक जियोलॉजिकल मैप के ऊपर आप देखते हैं या टोपोग्राफिक मैप के ऊपर अगर आप देखते हैं, तो क्या उसका कोई पैटर्न है? उसके जो कंटूर लाइंस हैं उनका कोई पैटर्न है? स्ट्रेट है, वो zigzag है या कर्वी है? किस तरह का फीचर वो आपको नजर आता है? तो दैट इज द पैटर्न एसोसिएटेड विद। उसकी सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है? व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ दैट फीचर? लाइक व्हाई इट इज important, why we want to study that feature, why we are not studying any other feature like x y z, but why we are studying w, why we are studying z, why we are studying y. So you have to justify your study, like okay, if we study this feature it will help to understand the erosion in Himalayas, or if we study this feature we can understand the evolution of so and so area, and also the effect of so and so process. And then comes the more interesting part is the humans interaction. As you guys know, humans are largely responsible for triggering or for making many changes to geomorphology. The example is dam. Like there is a river that is going from the mountains to the sea without any disturbance. You make a dam. Now, once you are obstructing the way of the dam, what will happen? The natural sediments that were going with the water to the sea will be stopped. Like all the silt, all the sand that was going nutrient supply to the sea will stop. That can affect the marine life, and eventually that can affect the deposition in the sea, and eventually it can also cause erosion. Like जो upper areas होंगे river के, like when the river is disturbed, the course of the river is disturbed, so the upper areas will be much more affected by erosion. Erosion can be more stronger, and जो lower areas होंगे dam से, those areas can have lesser supply of water, and eventually they can be having soil problems, geomorphological problems. So these problems are actually more related to the human interaction with the landforms and geomorphic humans, for the benefit, like we want electricity from water, and as a result we disturb the river course. For sometimes these rivers once similarly, in flood situations, when the water is overflowing in a river, we open the gates, and then the lower areas are flooded, and as a result, we are damaging the natural courses of the river. So this is an example where we can apply the human interaction with the human. Then there are few concepts. Maybe you guys are more familiar with these concepts. In the previous classes, like the present is the key to the past. Here is an example of ripple marks that occurred in a geological past, and there is a ripple mark that is formed today. So you can see that This is the preserved ripple mark in the geological past, and this is the ripple marks that are forming today. It shows you that these processes that we see today were actually also present in the geological past. There are some tools of geomorphology that we can apply to the geological fieldwork as well. And as we have seen, we have the topographic maps. You can see that we have the curvy shapes lines that are present in this area, and then there is blue that is actually the course of a river, and you can see that how U shape this river actually is forming. Maybe this river has changing its way, and you can see a series of landforms that are present in this area. How much different style of contouring is present, and this contouring is actually related to series of landforms in that particular area. Then comes the geological map. It can help you to understand the geomorphology and eventually the geology, as we have seen before. Then comes air photographs, the aerial photographs that we see from the satellite, or maybe we have got some aerial photographs using the plane. Mathematical models, we try to understand the erosion rates or weathering rates in an area based on the mathematical formulas and eventually creating some dynamic models. We can do experiments like the erosion experiments in the lab and try to relate those experiments with the geomorphological features that are formed today and ground truth. For example, you see this feature in the topographic map. You want to see whether this feature exists or it is no longer available, because geomorphological processes are dynamic in nature, and sometimes these processes they change the course, and as a result maybe this river ke along there is more erosion, and as a result of that erosion these features may be eroded away during the geological. These are some of the tools of geomorphology. So we are left with few topics of geomorphology that like the base level concept that we will try to do in our course in geomorphology, and this is just an aspect of geomorphology that can be applied in our geological fieldwork, and we will see how it goes. Well, that's all from my side. If you guys have any questions, you guys can ask. Take it to today's topic.
सर, जो आपने बताया है कि द प्रेजेंट इज अ की ऑफ द पास्ट, सर ये
Yes.
फिर से बता दें, मुझे समझ नहीं
Okay.
आई।
Okay. Let's slide in. This is very simple concept. We call it the principle of uniformitarianism. It's a principle that suggests कि आज जो प्रोसेस हो रहा है, जैसे एक रिवर आज फ्लो कर रहा है, इसी तरह ये रिवर्स पास्ट में भी फ्लो करते रहे हैं, लाइक परमियन जो जोलॉजिकल टाइम है या कैम्ब्रियन जो जोलॉजिकल टाइम है। तो अगर हम जो प्रेजेंट रिवर्स हैं अगर इनको हम स्टडी करें, अंडरस्टैंड करें, तो इनकी बेस पे हम जो पास्ट रिवर्स हैं उनको रिकंस्ट्रक्ट कर सकते हैं, उनको दोबारा समझ सकते हैं। लाइक ये जो फीचर्स हैं, जैसे यहाँ पर अभी एक रिपल मार्क्स आपको नज़र आ रही है, ये फीचर आपको नज़र आ रहा है, लेकिन ये फीचर इस वक्त फॉसिलाइज्ड है, लाइक ये रॉक का हिस्सा है, ये रॉक फेस है, जबकि इस जगह पे ये फीचर अभी बन रहा है। अभी आपको वाटर नज़र आ रहा है, तो ये फीचर, ये रिपल्स इस वक्त इस जगह पे ग्रो कर रहे हैं या बन रहे हैं। तो हो सकता है आफ्टर 50 मिलियन ईयर्स, आज से 50 मिलियन ईयर्स के बाद ये ट्रिपल मार्क्स फिर प्रिजर्व हो जाएं. Okay, and if there is any scientific study happening at that time, then those guys will see, okay, these are features they formed 50 million years ago as a result of water interaction. So this is the present processes is key to the past processes. We call it as present is
Okay,
the
sir.
key to
Thank
the past. Yeah. Welcome. Any other questions?